so happy to welcome you back to Called and Crafted podcast, where we are talking about caring for the heart and soul of the preacher, continuing our conversation about how preachers can do better with self-care and be intentional about their well-being. I am your host, Reverend Arionne Lynch, and director of the Compelling Preaching Initiative at UIndy. We are so happy today to welcome one of my favorite people in the world is in the studio with us today. Happy to have Dr. Jennifer McChristian, who's one of my dear friends and sisters, but also she was one of the facilitators for our recent conference called and Crafted, and she did a wonderful workshop called Being Intentional About Your Joy. And so we wanted to continue that conversation. Of course, we have continued the conversation about self-care and well-being for preachers in general on the podcast, because we didn't want to just have that stop at the end of the conference, but we wanted to keep that going and have preachers engage and think and reflect about what it means to care for themselves, what it means to pour in. And I just really think that joy is a really big part of that. When we were putting together the sort of workshops for the conference, I was like, no, we really need a space that we can say to people like, no, you really got to think about what it means to be intentional about cultivating a life that has some joy in it, right? And not kind of waiting on the right things to happen in order to feel good or whatever. And so your session, Intentional About My Joy, got rave reviews, just so you know. We started getting some feedback and people loved it. But I first want to ask you, how do you define joy?
So in the session, and thank you for inviting me here to kind of continue this conversation as well. But in the session, we talked about the difference between joy and happiness, right? I know most of you may remember the Kirk Franklin song, joy is not happiness because happiness means something's happening.
Yeah.
And so when I think about being intentional about your joy, I think about being filled with things that make you smile on the inside, which then sometimes reflects to a smile on the outside. But making sure that you notice those things and pointing them out, because we're so focused on what didn't go well. How do we focus more on what is going well, whether we created it or didn't create it, but just recognizing it? So living in a space where we acknowledge what is going good.
I love that. Okay. So part of it is just like what you're saying is like noticing.
Just noticing.
What's happening, right? And what am I experiencing and not missing? Because I think I'm definitely that person. Like I could be 5 miles down the road from an experience and somebody has to bring me back and I'll be like, oh yeah, God, you did answer that prayer. Thank you. Like, I don't know why I'm like that. I think I'm so like, focus sometimes on the next thing and struggling to be present maybe sometimes. So I appreciate that. Let me ask you this though. So you met with the preachers. You all had what looked like an engaging, amazing session. It was packed in there too. I feel like a lot of people came to your session. And just what do you feel like you heard from them? What do you feel like what were they saying? What sense did you get about what they were wanting or needing as it relates to this topic?
So a lot of people that came into the session, I asked, why this session? Why right now? And they were saying, well, I need joy. I remember when I had joy. And I remember, and we're reflecting on the remembrance piece.
Oh, wow.
That was big. I remember when I had joy. I remember when I experienced joy. And I paused and I said, so there's no joy right now? Where's the joy right now? And they began thinking about all of the things that were in the way. All of the transactions, all of the responsibilities and experiences that they forgot that there was also joy that still exists. And that joy can exist even in the spaces where you're busy, where you're tired, where you just are so exhausted that even a nap can't fix. And so I was intentional about helping them to remember those times and pointing out those times. And even when they struggled to recognize them, ask them to go back through their day. And what made you genuinely smile today? And how can you point those moments out? And so it reminded me that the rigmarole of the day gets in the way sometimes. And that they just needed a space to pause and permission to say, oh, yeah, that did happen. I do feel that when my grandchild walks in the room. I do feel that when the sun rises. Or when I'm surprised that it's only 18 degrees, but it's so much warmer than the 6 degrees that it was yesterday, and I can actually smile that my fingers are going to be okay today, right? So, yeah, right. So that really, really touched me in a lot of different ways because it was a universal feeling. Like lots of nods and I was like, yeah, that's right, across the room. So that shared experience was big.
That's so insightful. When you're saying remembering, what's coming up for me then is this notion of storytelling, right? Like what, and preachers at core are storytellers.
Yep.
Okay. We get up constantly and tell this one particular story, sometimes in many, many ways. A story we think is transformative and powerful and all the things. And so actually it matters what stories we're telling ourselves, like as I'm listening to you, right? Because if all I'm noticing is the rigmarole, is the like stuff or the stuff that's draining me. If that's what I'm pointing to, and I don't even notice the other things that were amazing, or I say, oh, that was great, but then blah, 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 and I go right back to, and it's not to say that life doesn't suck sometimes, because in fact it does. Like, no one's trying to like brush over, right? And have this sort of phony sense of joy or happiness or a faux something there. But no, what does it really mean to be intentional about what we're saying is happening, the story we're telling ourselves? That, talk about that. You're a therapist, so that like internal dialogue that's happening. How important is that when we think about joy or joy making in our own lives?
So from a therapeutic perspective, in ACT, which is one of the evidence-based principles that I teach from, is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance.
I'm laughing because suddenly I feel transported to my old therapy session with my therapist. But I'm going to let you finish. Go ahead.
That radical acceptance is, I really don't have any control over any of this. It doesn't mean I like it, but I'm going to accept that it's what's happening, right? I accept that this is where I'm at in this place right now. It's the serenity prayer all over again. And so what do I have the power to control, and what am I giving energy to? And when that inner critic gets into your mind and says, oh, you're not doing well, or this is going bad, or this, how do you pull out that inner coach to say, hold on, cheerleader, let me cheer you on? So you can listen to the critic that's focusing on the things that are pulling you away from where you really want to be, or where you say you want to be, or you can hype yourself up. But that takes intentionality. Being intentional about, I recognize that this voice or this thing that I'm being pulled in this way, and yet I can go another way. I have a choice because I choose joy.
So I love that for so many reasons. Number one, you actually answered another question I've been sitting with and thinking about this session. Is joy a choice to a degree? I want to be careful with that, because I also want to make space and hold space for people who are really navigating some really painful things, right? I don't want to say to somebody navigating an abusive relationship, just choose joy, right? I'm not going to say that as a preacher.
Right.
Never going to get me to say that theologically, right? So I want to be careful with that. But when it comes to what you're talking about, though, again, it's the storytelling. It's so I notice the voice talking and all the things, or the inner critic or whatever it is, but I get to choose. I may not be able to choose the circumstances. I may not be able to choose. So I may have to radically accept some stuff I would prefer not to radically accept. I might want to radically get you together, but maybe that doesn't help. Maybe I got to accept this for what it is. But then it's a way that I can decide how I respond, or decide how I'm going to look at it, or figure out what my options are in the scenario. Okay, so this actually takes me back to, so let me tell y'all. So Dr. Jennifer did this amazing group based on her book, which as you see is right here, The Mosaic, A Journey in Healing. Phenomenal. I'm going to let you talk about the journal, because, friend, you need to get the journal, okay? The journal's amazing. Legit, and I'm not just saying this because I know her and all that. No, it was really an incredible experience going through this group with her and several other women. But it's not just for women, it's for everybody. The book is. And basically, one of the things that I know stands out to me from that group experience and some of the things we talked about is that the way in which we can notice what's happening in our lives. And it's like learning that I am not the thing, or I am not the emotion. I am having the emotion, or I'm having the experience, and I have some control over how I respond or how I navigate. I think one of the things that stood out to me was the parade piece that okay, come on in. We notice you. We see you. Okay, but this is how we're going to do this up in here. That I might be blending the parade and the party.
The parade and the party, it's okay. It's okay. It's
talk about it.
It's an ACT principle, again, an ACT evidence-based principle called diffusion. Okay. So you have these thoughts, and they can get you hooked, right? I'm having this thought. I am hungry. I have to eat this cheeseburger. I need this cheeseburger. And so I'm having this thought. And so as you're having this thought and you're hooked on this thought, then it controls your actions. If it has you hooked, I got to have this cheeseburger, so I'm going to get in this car. I'm going to drive to this particular fast food restaurant that has this best lemon burger that I really, really love. And then I'm going to get this lemon garlic burger, and I'm going to eat this garlic. And so now that thought that I have to have this thing, what happens when you pause and says, yes, I'm having the thought. I'm having the thought. I am hungry, and I do want a burger. It's a thought. And then you pause, and you get to say, does that align to where I really want to be? Doesn't mean you can't control everything. I'm having the thought. I'm having the feeling. I am hungry. I want this burger. And I can choose. And that's simplified, right? I'm simplifying it, talking about a burger or a meal. But the reality is when we're talking about when there is devastation, when there is pain, when there is grief that is experiencing around as a friend who's going through a divorce, any of those things, it's more than a thought. It is a thought. It is an emotion. But it doesn't have power until we give it action. It doesn't have power until we give it action. We have to remind ourselves of that. It's not that you're telling someone who is going through this pain from a ministry perspective that I'm going to reduce the amount of pain that you're going through. No, pain and joy can live in the same space. And that's one of the things I focused on in the workshop. How can we hold on? You can hold on to two things at the same time, and they can both have power. But the actions that you take behind those emotions determines which direction you go in and what the next step is going to be. Right? So they can both exist. You can be sad on the treadmill.
I guarantee you, if I'm on a treadmill, I'm sad. Okay.
Right?
I do not want to be there.
Because I'm sad, right? I am absolutely sad that I'm even going there. However, I might be experiencing some other emotions. And yet, what I say that I want, what I value, and what is going to give me joy is actually
here you go talking about these values again. She's values. So right. She's so values. Okay, because you talk about that a lot in your work, the values and what it is we believe, what's important to us, and how we essentially align ourselves and our actions with what it is we say we believe and what we say we want, right? Yeah. That was the sense I got. I hope I'm not.
You're right.
I hope
You're on it. You're on it. You own it.
Okay. So how would you put that in conversation with this conversation around being intentional around joy?
Okay.
Because I wonder if some people even have that as a value, right? Like, because I think sometimes we think to be on fire for God and to be focused and it's to be so serious and stuffy and uptight and I'm like, do you know God? Because God got all the jokes. That's my experience of God, right? Yeah. So like I think God wants joy, but I wonder, you know what I mean? If just I don't know, talk about that something.
So I think that one of the things that I focus on, and I don't know if I got to it in the workshop or not, is whose voice is the loudest in your head. Whose voice is the loudest in your head? As a young child, it's your parents' voice. Very much so.
No question.
No question, right? When you begin to develop relationships and grow.
Peers.
Well,
at some point.
They
get loud.
Especially the teenagers.
Yeah.
I got one. And then as a younger adult, again, peers, but then we develop into these romantic relationships. And so partners' voices are getting in your head.
Yep.
And that begins to shape your values. You think, is it really shaping your values or is it shaping your actions? The things that you're doing. Do you even know why you're doing what you're doing?
Interesting.
So then it's a point in your life where you start to challenge, why am I doing this? Does this bring me joy?
Yeah.
Is this what I want?
Yeah.
Is this what others want of me? Is this what's expected? Yeah. And so getting more deep into that conversation to know, am I doing the things that God has called me to do, or that others are expecting of me to do?
That's good.
And in the spiritual world, in the relationship, the ministry world, your relationship with God is what's going to help guide that. No different than our relationship in the secular world, right?
Yeah.
How do you determine what that looks like? And has anybody ever given you permission to experience joy? Think about those voices that were in your head when you were a younger person. Were they telling you enjoy life? Or were they saying, go your butt to school and do what you supposed to be doing in school? You don't go to school to play. You don't go to school to have fun. You go to school to learn. Well, wait, I'm not supposed to have fun? I'm not supposed to enjoy life? I'm not supposed to enjoy this experience? No. All that horse playing that you're doing. No. You go to school to learn.
Go to get your lesson and come back home.
So how?
You know what it is? It's Rita Louise Watson. If you know Sister Act 2. Okay, I'm sorry. It was right there.
It was right there. And so we have to ask ourselves, were we given permission to really enjoy life? Ever?
Oh, my gosh.
Did anybody give you permission to enjoy life?
That's powerful.
And now I give you permission. I give you permission. Dr. Jennifer McChristian gives you permission to enjoy life.
No, that's good, because I think there's probably somebody watching who would say no.
No.
And okay, so what would you say to the person who's struggling with that? Mm-hmm. That there's this, and I know I can hear you saying they're trying to navigate through the change. Like, maybe I start to think about this is something I can adapt as a value that is important to enjoy your life. Mm-hmm. Now, for me as a preacher, I'm gonna say read Ecclesiastes. Okay. Because I mean, there's a balance in that book. I think there's a little bit of like, I mean, it depends on your perspective. So be careful, because the writer is kind of writing like, well, we all gonna die, so you might as well like. And I hate to be so like, but you could look at it like, there's also this notion of life is fleeting.
Life is fleeting,
right? And so like, you don't have to look at it, super, like negatively, but okay, what we have is what we have. And there's places where it talks about it's nothing better. This is a particular scripture. It's nothing better that a person should eat, drink, and be merry, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Literally, that is in the scripture, in Ecclesiastes. So I think scripture gives you permission, right? But what would you say? So let's say I'm a preacher. I'm sitting in you're on your couch, right? Yeah. and I'm telling you that there's been no voice, right? Mm-hmm. The theological tradition I come from, no one was saying this, but I'm starting to think I should be able to, that maybe God does want me to be intentional about my joy. How do I give myself permission to do that if I feel like I've never had permission to do that?
So I'm a journaler.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That part.
And I encourage people to journal. And I would start with a reflection of the day. I'm talking about, when your job is thinking about cutting your job or cutting your hours and your responsibility, they make you do it every 30-minute check-in. Have you ever had an employer that does that?
No.
Oh, okay. It's a time log that they do with certain companies. And so it's like, I want you to give me a 30-minute check-in every 30 minutes. What were you doing? Wow. Right? What was happening? I challenge you to do something similar. Not just journal your day at the end of the day, but I'm talking about pick your journal up, set a clock. What's happening right now in my life? What is happening? What am I doing? And how do I feel about it? How do I feel about what I am doing in this moment? And begin examining what are the things that you are pouring yourself into, and how are those things pouring back into you? Right? I'm talking to my friend doing this podcast. That feels really good. So in this moment, that feels good. Yeah. So spending time with my friend is something that makes me smile. Yeah. How do I make space for those things? Yeah. The drive over. I don't like traffic. I don't like traffic.
I like it.
Therefore, how do I stay out of this car? Yeah. Right? Yeah. That does not give me joy. How do I make space
that part
for people to meet up with me?
Yeah.
And do that. After that first day, reflect on it. That second day, be intentional about changing it. Or if you need 3 days to reflect, 3 days to reflect.
I love it.
and then determine how you are creating the space for the things that actually give you joy, bring you peace.
So something about seeing it, right?
Seeing
because
it.
we're kind of just moving about, doing what we need, most of us. Like, we're not even thinking, right, about how things are. So what we're talking about here, noticing all the things.
Absolutely. Intentionality.
Yeah. Preachers are busy people. Like, we are generally not making time for these kinds of things. No, I'm not suggesting we can't, but that's just my point.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We are busy people.
We're doing the most.
but not just you're doing the most. And I say this in my workshop as well. A mentor of mine 15 years ago, who is a minister, who runs multiple outreach ministries, both here and in another city, said to me, "You're so busy." And I'm like, "I am. I'm always busy. Let me see if I can pencil it in." She was like, "No. You're busy." And I was like, "Yes, I heard you." Like, what are we talking about? She said, "But busy is being under Satan's yoke." Because are you doing the things that God called you to do?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, wait.
Pause.
Wait. Red flag on the play.
Stop.
Flag on the play.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I saw this great social media post yesterday. I mean, and that's what they were talking about. Like, actually, to rest, right, is actually a radical thing to do, right? And it actually helps you to get aligned when you're doing the most.
Right.
It's very hard to tap into joy when you're stressed and tired and overworked and doing all the things. Like, how you can't tap into that? Like, you're no way, right? But rest pushes all that up, so that can wait. Slow it down a little bit. Yeah. And because when we don't, it really is like, in fact, the post was essentially saying, to not rest, that is actually what the enemy wants us to stay busy and do all the things. Because then if we are, then we aren't. There's no way we can accomplish what we're supposed to accomplish because we've overwhelmed ourselves with all the things. We're too, plates are too full and we're too tired. You can't even be, the post was even saying like, and I'm careful about, and I'm one of them. I be posting stuff on social media as a preacher and stuff. Sometimes you don't know the sources of everything, but this felt really good because the person was like, if you're tired, how you gonna hear from God? You can't even hear. You're tired. You're exhausted. Like, you gotta, calm all that down so that you don't miss. So that busyness gets in the way.
But we don't come from a culture and a society where rest is valued.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's a 40-hour work week, and then that's what they pay you for, but not
up.
what you really do.
It's a terrible idea.
Because you're really working 60 hours a week just to make ends meet, right? And then add on to the work required that's not recognized. So we don't come from a place of rest.
Yeah.
We come from a place of lack and not that of abundance. And so it is a true paradigm shift.
Yeah.
You're going to challenge some of your own beliefs, practices of others, expectations, to even say, I know you invited me, but I'm not going to make it.
And amen.
Well, you went to her. Well, yesterday I had 2 hours of energy, and today
I have -5.
And -5. Yeah. Just like the weather.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
yeah.
Giving yourself permission to actually, like you said, to rest, but understanding that there's going to be some cost to that. Every choice has a cost, right? Everything costs something. Yeah. And so that might be a relationship of somebody who is not emotionally regulated, but that might be a little, of cost associated with some of those things. But give yourself permission. Speaking
about relationships, what's important in terms of the community you lean into, or the people, the relationships that how important is that as it relates to cultivating joy in your life?
Yeah. You have to examine what is the benefit. There has to be. I know some people are gonna be like, oh no.
Like it's too transactional?
It's too transactional. Everything is too transactional, right? And so what is the benefit of being around or communicating or being aligned with certain people?
Yeah.
And so asking yourself, the community that you built, the best time in my life that I can recall was a time when I had a sense of community of people who poured into me that welcomed my pouring back.
Yeah.
There are some times that you keep pouring into situations that your advice ain't welcomed. Your energy ain't welcome. Your spirit ain't welcome.
So then you're not welcome.
And you're not welcome. Yeah. And then you feel drained. And so recognizing when certain environments no longer fit you and taking the leap of faith and courage to step into new environments.
Yeah, that's scary because I think sometimes, so on the one hand, like, yeah, it's all cool to be like, oh, yeah, I want to be in environments and with people that pour in, da, 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 da. And then sometimes relationships do shift or, you may grow, another person may not. And it's like, you feel bad, right? There's this sense of loyalty, like, oh, I don't want to like abandon my friend or this person or whatever. Or even when, to me, this is a big one because sometimes family dynamics shift drastically. And it's like, what do I do with that? How do I create those boundaries? Or can I do that? Right? Can I? And it's funny, I was, there's this whole conversation happening now around people cutting family members off and that whole piece. And I mean, maybe there are steps before you cut somebody completely off, but and then maybe we just suck at relationships. So there's so many things to think about there. But when I think about like joy, I think the people you spend time with actually that's a kind of important aspect of like. But talk about that.
So I have very strong.
I know.
Opinions.
I just dropped a lot.
I have very strong opinions about cutting people off.
Okay.
I feel like we live in a world where nobody teaches us how to really deal with conflict.
Yep.
We don't process conflict. And if you are not exactly what I need you to be when I need you to be, then, I don't have the bandwidth. I'm putting up this boundary. I am protecting my peace. You are emotionally immature.
Oh,
is what it boils down to. Okay? It is not about protecting your peace. It's about accepting that everyone is not going to conform to the way you need them to be so that you can be comfortable. I'm sorry. How do I need to be the person that you need me to be so that you can learn how to be comfortable in a adversarial or conflictual environment, right? Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that I got to invite you over to Thanksgiving and sit around the table and eat my meals with you. Because I don't. But what that does also mean is I have to accept that you are who exactly you are. And I engage with you in those ways.
Whatever I
have the capacity to do. But to cut off human connection, I don't know that that's what God intended for us. He took us in twos, right? And so, so I'm just saying.
She's taking the text.
I'm just saying. So, but building a community around you that pours into you, that feels good, that is required. Creating a space where you can exist and be your authentic self and be accepted and welcomed in that space, that is required. But it's not that you got to do that and never learn how to grow in an adversarial environment, right? And so that whole, I'm going to cut you off. We could talk for a long time about that.
That might be a part 2 conversation.
It's just like, what? You cut them off? Like, really?
No, it's a thing. Like people are, and I get it. Like I know, I'm sure, it comes up for you a lot in your work. I don't know. I think there could be an extreme to that. I get for some people they aren't safe, so I get that too. Like, and so in those instances, hey, you're not going to hear me push back against that at all. I just know I wanted to bring it up because I just know relationships is such a big part of our, it is. I mean, I think in Christian tradition, of course, at core, what we say we believe is that God, essentially gave up God's own life for the purpose of reconciling us in relationship back to God, right? So what was at core was not us going to heaven or hell, was us being in relationship with God. God was concerned about, I don't want to lose you. So I'm going to do what's necessary to redeem you. I'm going to do it myself, right? That part of it is, so relationship matters in Christian context and in Christian community. And I know it can get sticky. And even sometimes, so we can talk about personal relationships, but then one of the biggest joy suckers is sometimes the foolishness that goes on in church, like the trauma, the relationships, and even things that ministers experience at the hand of their congregation. And we know ministers have used power to hurt people within their congregations. That's happened too, but there's hurt that comes the other direction too. People's families have been hurt and harmed. When you have somebody, you don't like what the pastor decided, and so you take it out on the spouse or the kids or whatever, or some of the crazy political stuff that goes on, and people are, so I'm just saying, like, even as we get into the work and the ministry, of what it is to do the work of ministry day to day, we've experienced a lot of things, hurtful things, and that can be a joy drain, honestly.
Yes.
How do people navigate? What if you really are in, it could be something like that in the context of a church, but it could just also just be lifing, as we like to say. How do you said you can hold two things, right?
Yeah.
Joy and pain at the same time. How do we navigate those seasons that are just really challenging and don't let them strip us of our joy?
It really is the pausing and reflecting and giving yourself permission to let go when it's time to let go.
What do you mean by let go?
So it could look different. Sometimes we hold on to some things so tight that it keeps us bound in a space that is preventing us from growing in the direction that we need to grow.
Okay.
So when you're in a space that is continuously causing you pain, even when there's a reflection of it, how do you let completely go of it? Whether it be the emotional connection to it, the physical connection to it, the spiritual connection to it. It could be your church. That may no longer be your home.
Time to go.
that might just be like, okay, well, you know what? This served me. Thank you, God. What did I learn from this experience?
Yeah.
How did I grow
And amen.
through this experience? And where are you calling me to be next?
Yeah.
Because God might have already told you that it was time for you let's move.
Yeah.
And you said, but wait,
No,
I've been here 15 years. I know these people. I watched the kids grow up with the grandkids, right?
Yeah.
This is my home. It was.
And
Thank you. Thank you. And now,
knowing when to let go.
knowing when to actually completely let go.
Yeah.
And discerning, is it my ego or is it real? Because sometimes ego just gets in the way.
Yeah.
Like, my feelings are hurt, I'm mad at you.
Right. And I feel away.
And
it's okay to say that.
It's okay to say that. Address it.
Yeah.
Address it. But be intentional. I really am 100% confident that you can sit back and find the pleasures, the things that really excite you, set you on fire, and find space for them versus dealing with the pain all the time. Like, just choose it. I know it sounds so simple. It's not that simple, but it could be.
To choose joy.
To choose joy.
I actually agree with that. I had a friend one time who, this person, and I am too, very engaged politically, watching what's happening. And this was many years ago, and got so upset with some stupid stuff that was happening, in the world. And I remember they were like, and my whole day's ruined. I'm like, really? So pause. Let's talk about this. Like, your whole day, you gonna let these people have this much power? Like, come on, right? And they were like, you know what? Good point. I had never thought about that. We kind of talked through it a little bit. But yeah, I appreciate this. I feel like the biggest thing I've heard is, as we've talked today, is just this piece around the control we do have. Like, we can't control everything, obviously, that's happening.
Right.
But we really can decide how we're going to navigate and which direction we're going to flow in. Right? Okay, some painful stuff is happening, but what does it look like for me to choose joy in this moment? What does it look like for me to choose the best thing for me, or that's going to fill me up and pour into me? So I appreciate that. That's been super helpful. Okay, so here's the thing. We always like to give preachers some type of assignment. Okay. I really didn't prep you on this, so this ain't really fair, but this is what you do. But you did bring your joy jar today.
I did.
So I don't know. You might want to tell the people about the joy jar. I don't know. But what would you assign it? So you got preachers watching, similar to the ones who were in your session, right? Trying to figure out, like, how can I be? If they're sitting here, they've heard our conversation, what do they need to do to be more intentional about their joy? What assignment would you give them? Because they get assignments every week. This was no different. What would you give them? It could be the joy jar. It could be something else. Just whatever you would want to share. How would you challenge them to be intentional about their joy?
I think the first thing that I would do is giving preachers permission to pause. Just pause. Check out of the GPS mode, the automatic direction going. I know I have to be here. I'm turning right. I'm turning left. I'm turning right. Just pause and say, why am I going where I'm going? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Don't change your routine. Sit in a space of observation first. Too often we say, you gotta do, but we don't even know what we're doing while we're doing it. Ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is this in alignment where I say, or where God has called me to truly be? That's the first thing I would ask you to do. The second thing is, after you got the answer to that, how do you respond? Do you just keep doing it, knowing that you're misaligned? Or do you stop and shift gears? And then finally, if we're talking about the joy jar, do the joy jar. So the joy jar, one of the things that came up in the session, was the fact, like I said, people were saying they had to remember their joy. And so I asked them on these strips of paper. I gave them all jars, and I gave them strips of paper. They were able to select the colors of the paper. And I said, write down the things that bring you joy. The things that bring you joy, or the things that you experience that are joyful, that don't require others to be present, because somebody's not going to always be there. The second round, you can do things that require others. But on those days and those times where you're feeling just dark and lonely and it's just too much, open your jar, pull out a piece of paper, and just know that whatever you pull out is going to bring you a moment of joy. No matter what that is, because all the things that you put in the jar are things that bring you joy.
Are these things you're supposed to do, or just something that
Could be a thought. I have no control over what brings you joy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, seeing my children bring me joy, but that involves another person. So, in order for me to see their faces that bring me joy, I keep pictures of them. And if in those dark days and I'm feeling like I need to pull something out of my jar, and I pull seeing my grandchild, I'm going to pull out my phone. And now I'm going to be down a rabbit hole. Okay? Because there are probably thousands of pictures of them in my phone. But I'm going through my, right?
Yes.
Riding my bike. But it's 6 degrees outside. So if riding my bike is one of the things that brings a smile to my face and it's 6 degrees outside and I pull that out of what do?
Treadmill?
I ride my bike in the cold.
I know that's right.
Because there's a mentality, an ACT principle again. It's the even if.
Even if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times we operate on the only if. Only if the weather is nice am I going to ride my bike. And you say, even if the weather's not nice, I'm going to ride my bike.
You preaching. I want you to know.
So it's going into that mentality of, I get to choose. And sometimes those choices are hard, but the reward is my joy. So if I have to make a hard choice to get to my joy, then I'll make that hard choice.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Because that only if, even if, well, we talked about that in the group, but the only if, even if is so powerful, because really, I'm going to let something block my joy.
Yeah.
Something else gets to choose for me.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the weather, I don't get to have joy. That's craziness. No, I want my joy. Please and thank you.
Yes. And so that means I'm going to have to go to the 109 where they actually shovel, and I'm going to get to ride my bike. But in my neighborhood, you're not going to ride your bike because they ain't shovel nothing. But if I take my car over to the 109 where they did shovel, so I'm intentional. So now I'm really intentional, and I'm like feeling proud of the things that I did, that I took responsibility for, versus me saying that I wasn't able to ride my bike because of the snow. What? You live in Indiana? I'm sorry.
Right, baby. You don't live
in December in Indiana. Did you think there was gonna be some snow? So I challenge preachers to do that, to pause, to reflect, and then to choose.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. I know y'all enjoyed this. I definitely enjoyed this. Yes. Let's thank Dr. Jennifer McChristian. Tell us about, really quickly, how we can stay in touch with you or find out from you, get your book, your website, all the things. Tell us all the things.
Yep. So my website is compasstothecrest.com. You can see all of the resources that we have available, the services that we offer. You also can purchase the Mosaic, A Journey in Healing, which is a workbook journal. It navigates you through this complex world of healing, understanding that it's a process. And progress is a part of the process, right? And so I want you to pick it up, pick a page, get started. We'll have several workshops that will be posted on there in the near future that like you've experienced in the past.
I highly recommend.
And so we'll be encouraged to see you there, and we welcome you to join us.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. McChristian. And thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to do your assignment. She tells you to pause, reflect, and choose. That is your assignment. Until next time, we will see you next week on Called and Crafted the Pod. Take care of yourself. Till then, bye.